I think we should just go until it's done.
Just until either I become boring or you run out of things to ask.
We're like, and it's been 10 minutes. Thanks for joining us, Dave, and bye-bye.
Is that it? Is that all you got?
Until Dave gives up and walks away.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're done with this.
All right.
Oh, that's funny.
Ready to rock?
Yep.
Ready.
Okay. Let's do this. Are you looking to buy or sell real estate? You've got questions. We've got answers. Welcome to the show. It's going to be great. Featuring Matt and Jen from HomeTeam4u. And now, without further ado, it's Matt and Jen.
All right. Hey, guys. I'm happy everyone is tuning in. Thanks for joining us. We have a really awesome show today. So first, we want to go ahead and introduce our guests. So first, Chrissa Evans has been on a couple of times.
Am I a guest?
You are a guest.
We just put the headphones on you.
Oh, is that?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So what's
Okay.
new? What's going on?
Well, what's new? So many exciting things. Chrissa Evans, live in Wisconsin Dells. Love what's going on with real estate right now. Having a blast serving my clients and showing a lot of homes and
Selling a lot of homes.
I'm selling
We
a
don't
lot
show
of
houses, Chris. We sell houses.
You got me right off the bat, didn't you?
I did.
Right off the bat. So personally, we're just getting ready for a wedding in the family. Our youngest daughter's getting married May 1st, so we've got all the bridal showers and things are happening soon.
That's fun.
So, yeah, it is. So that's what we're kind of focused on right now.
So when's the date?
May 1st.
Nice. It's coming up.
It
May Day.
is. It is. It is May Day.
May Day.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We've got the bridal shower March 6th and the bachelorette party. They're from they're in Iowa, so they're coming to the Dells for the bachelorette party, and I get to host because I live in the water park capital of the world. So why wouldn't you come to my house for that? So yeah, that'll be in April.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Our in-studio guest today is president of the Stark Company Realtors, Dave Stark.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Well, you ready to blast him with some questions, John?
We are. So
Fire away.
Good luck.
yes.
Thank you.
So we've got
If you ask any of the wrong questions, you know what I'm going to do. I'm
You're
just
like,
get
and
up and stomp out of here.
you can do what Matt does to everybody. You're fired.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like,
Yep.
you're done. Bye-bye. So we have some easy ones first.
All right.
So would you rather live by a lake or in the woods, and why?
On a lake. I do live on a lake. You knew that. That's why you knew that was
That's
going to be
softball.
easy.
You have a
That-
cabin like in
very
the woods, though, don't you?
It was on a lake, though.
Oh, okay.
But so it's a woods and
So
lake.
it's on a lake.
Yeah, it's on a lake.
I didn't know
No,
that.
I never thought I would want to live full-time on a lake, but now that I do, it is the best thing. It is just, it's great.
What's
It's
the
a
best
real
part
pro-
about it?
Every day you get up and you look out there and something different is going on. And that is true 365 days a year. I don't care what it is. And when you go out, there's something physiological about this. I don't know what it is, but when you're near water, there's like ionization or something. And
I
you
feel more at
actually
peace.
feel calmer.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
in the summer you go and you sit out there and you have a drink and it's great. And it's a beautiful backdrop. There's nothing like it in Madison that you can recreate.
No neighbors behind you.
No. If you wanted to ask me, you said woods. If it were mountains or desert, then I'd have to think a little more. Because
Okay,
those are very
mountains or
different.
desert.
Well, deserts are often in the mountains. I would say I love the mountains and I do love the desert. In fact, if I were going to get another vacation home, I'd probably get it in the desert. I'd go to Scottsdale or Tucson because I think that's just really super cool. And
What about Marco Island? Apparently, there's a whole bunch of Stark
they
agents
apparently
that are
we're
flocking.
migrating down there. Yeah. So Marco Island would be everybody's trying to talk me into going down there.
Well, I heard you're opening an office there, so
Yes, that's a false rumor. Fake news.
Fake news.
Okay.
All right, so another softball, red or white wine?
Red. But I do like white. In fact, we often have both in the evening. You guys probably, this is another soft. See, you guys.
Yeah, Dave's a wino.
I am
a wine connoisseur.
Hey. Very
Wine connoisseur.
different
Is it like your
things.
whole basement, like a whole wine
No,
setup?
but it's probably
Not all of it? Most of it?
it's a space about the size of what we're in here. Is probably with
So like 10 by 10 or so.
yeah
11 by 11.
I think it's a little bigger than that. It's about 13 by 14 or something like
You probably
that.
don't remember. when
30 by 30. What?
we were,
No.
in
It's not that big.
we were in Mexico
Just
a
a
few
little
years
bigger.
ago on the trip, and I remember Dave's. We were at a wine bar thing, and we had to order so much wine to cover that so we could have the meal there too.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the night, I kind of looked at the bill and I kind of just slid it over to Dave. Because it was like 5 hours of, probably 25, 30 of us drinking.
Yeah. It
was fun.
It's the trip.
It
we
was
do.
wine,
It's
so he
gonna
was
be-
all about it.
Yeah. No, it's my passions are more for red wine, but we have a lot of both. Yeah, but if you want to have a great wine, red. California Cabs. It's my
Nice.
favorites.
Catherine, you want to pick Chris, you want to pick a question?
The other CA.
Yeah, the other
Evans.
CA. Too many Evans,
I know. Party or quiet night at home?
Ooh, that's changed. It used to be party for sure. When I was younger, it used to be party, but I think in the last 10 years, I'm getting a little older.
It happens.
You just, you've kind of been there, done that. Sometimes but then after a while, we've had a lot of quiet nights at home this year. So
Yes.
I'm kind of looking forward to a party. I really am.
That's what this is for.
Yeah, I'm ready to get the heck out. It is great to just come out to an office.
Yeah.
We just don't do it much anymore.
Right.
We just stay where we are.
Yeah.
Stinks.
Yeah. All right. So, a question that I had as like a second generation realtor: did you always know that you would end up being a realtor or being in real estate?
No, not at all. In fact, you might even know the answer to this one too. But I thought I was going to be a doctor when I first went to school. I started out at Duke University. Some people know that.
I did not know that.
Yep, pre-med. And after a year and a half, I was an organic chemistry washout. I hated it.
Oh no.
No, and I did. I would have been a terrible doctor. My youngest brother is a doctor, just retired, as a matter of fact. And
Where does he live?
Seattle area. And I would have been awful. I would have just hated it. And so I switched out of pre-med in the middle of my sophomore year, came back here to UW Madison, went into the business school, just to start over on something. I was kind of starting to get an interest in that. That was during the Watergate years. I'm dating myself, but it was 72, 73, 74. And I just kind of got my thinking in those ways, and I decided on business and went into it. And I actually thought I was going to be a banker. And my first job was at what is now BMO Harris Bank. Back then it was the Affiliated Bank of Madison. I was a credit analyst and kind of a management trainee.
How old were you then?
I would have been 24.
So youngin.
Yeah, no, wait. It would have been 70. Yeah, 24. Yeah, 24. And it was, but banking was fine, but it's slow.
Yeah.
And not very entrepreneurial, and I was ambitious, and so I just kind of got tired of that, and that's when I first thought, maybe I should think about the family business. So
I mean, we have two boys right now, and
yeah,
I'm kind of struggling with the same thing. Do we kind of direct them that way? But I'm kind of going to let them do their own thing, and if they decide to,
absolutely the right move. As you know, in fact, I'll give you some insight into my thinking on that, because as you guys know, both of my kids, all three of my kids are in the business now, and they all came to me at one time or another. I didn't tell any of them they had to. But they all came to me one time or another and said, I think I want to. And I said, well, here's the only I'm going to give you two pieces of advice. Do not do it because you think I want you to.
Yeah.
And do not do it because you think it's going to be easy. Because
it's going to be hard.
It will be hard. It will be harder for you than it will be for a normal person coming into the business.
The expectations on them.
The expectations on them are very, very high. I mean, you probably felt that even just being Roger's daughter.
Huge.
Yeah. So you know
Everybody
what I mean?
thought that you knew everything because you just got it by osmosis by growing up, and you
Right.
actually
Yeah,
knew
you're
nothing.
sitting around did you sit around the dinner table and talk about real estate?
No, I watched my dad read the paper while the rest of us ate. Being real.
Oh, that is good.
Our kids are screwed. All we do is talk about real estate.
Is that right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they pick up, and sometimes they're like, "Can you guys not talk about real estate?"
Yeah. Do you think how old is your oldest now?
What is he? 16 and
Okay.
14.
So they're old enough to start sort of thinking about it, even though they'll change their minds a million times.
Yeah.
So no, I would not
Yeah.
encourage it, because then they'll either resent it or it'll put pressure on them that they won't like. So let them find their own way. In fact, I had all of them had to go work elsewhere before they came here.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. Just to make sure.
Yeah, our oldest went going to school even as a small child. We had to at all of his teacher conferences say, "Okay, now your code word is this is not up for negotiation."
Yeah.
Not
'Cause-
negotiable.
Yeah,
Not
he would
negotiable.
always be like, "Oh, well, I see you have another cookie over there. May I have that? I have two, but you have another." And
You've talked about him. You
Oh
think
my
he's going to
gosh.
be a real
I
negotiator.
reminded
Oh
him
my
about that
gosh.
the other day about
Yeah.
having to go to a parent teacher, and Carson's, his is like 5 minutes, and we talk about business or real estate with the teachers, and
Yeah,
Caden's went overtime.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he might, you don't know.
Yeah.
You also don't want to tell him not to. I've had friends who have almost felt like, I've got to discourage them from going to the business for all those reasons. And I said, well, don't do that.
Yeah.
if that's their dream, let them follow it.
Yeah. Whatever he does, he will do well at it. So I'm just
It's probably
like,
going to
go
need to be his
figure
own
it out.
boss, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, no boss. He can't have a boss.
Well, which speaks well to this line of work.
Sounds like Matt.
Yeah, I know. Imagine where this child comes from.
Yeah.
You
You,
have-
didn't, Matt, you didn't grow up in a real estate family.
No, farm.
Yeah, that's
A
what I
farm kid.
thought. Yeah. So you just kind of married into
But I think
it.
I think being the farm kid, though, it's all business and entrepreneurship too, because you have to take care of your own stuff and do your own thing.
Sure. You're in business for yourself.
Yeah.
Your grandpa was
Oh, yeah.
into
So my
Land
my
and-
grandpa he owned a repair shop on State Street for years.
Interesting. What was the name of it?
Good question.
Oh,
Philip
okay.
something?
It was his name was Phillips, but it was what's the brand name of shaver? It was a
Schick, Gillette,
Gillette. I can look it later, but yeah,
Okay.
it's a
whatever.
State Street. But my great grandfather was apparently a realtor, which is kind of weird.
Oh, there you go. See, so
Never knew him though.
the gene was there.
The gene was there.
Chris, you got one, or is it my turn?
Let's see. What advice would you give yourself at 15?
Oh, this was my question.
Oh, well,
Don't go to Duke to be a doctor.
yeah, don't go to Duke to be a doctor. It's a terrible, terrible fate. My advice would be don't keep your mind open. Don't spend too much time focusing on, one thing. Try lots of things because you're going to change. And the other piece of advice I would give is don't shortchange the social aspects of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just make it all about academics, because academics are great, but once you've got your first job, nobody ever looks at a report card of yours ever again. And I think that particularly if you're going to go into business, but really in any line of work, your social skills and your social aptitude, I think, is way more important than anything you learned in a book.
That's funny. My 15-year-old would probably be the opposite of that.
And
Focus on grades more than
and there are certain lines of work. Like, for example, if you want to be a molecular biologist, if you're one of the guys, a good friend of mine is the head of the science department at Promega, and he used to work at Pfizer, so he's been keeping me up to date all the way along on the vaccine and stuff. This guy is deep into science. He is deep science. If you're going to do that, yeah, you're going to be heavy academics. So it depends on where you're drawn, but you don't know. When you're 15 or 16, you do not know. I guarantee you do not know. There's a rare unicorn that does, and they stay on the same path the whole way along, but 95% of us, 98% of us deviate. I'll bet none of us really ended up where we thought we would when we were 15.
I sometimes wonder if a personality profile at 15 or 16 would help that kind of thing. Like if it's
Kids do that kind of stuff
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
Well, we've had Caden and Carson both take them, so they're screwed too.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
How did they come out?
Caden is a higher D than I am.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
Hayden is a lot like his dad,
Yeah.
Okay.
and then
Well,
Carson is
yeah.
a lot like me.
Okay.
So they could go into business to each
More of
other.
a high I. You're more of an
C.
SI, aren't you?
Oddly
horrible
enough,
C.
I'm a CD.
Really? No, I wouldn't have picked you that way at all. I would have picked you the exact
She's
opposite.
well-rounded.
I guess so.
But I have an eye that I can turn up when I need to.
yeah.
What was
Yeah.
mine? A DI? Is that
Yeah,
what I am?
you're a DI.
DI.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I can see that. I see the D for sure.
Yeah.
You've got C in you though. You run a pretty
He
tight
does.
ship. You know
Mhm.
you know your
Do I run a
numbers.
tight
He
ship?
does know his numbers.
You know your metrics.
Mr.
For those of you that like
Spreadsheet.
the charts and the spreadsheets,
See, everybody thinks I'm a high C but I'm not. I'm a DI.
DI.
Actually, ID is more what I am.
Mhm. That's why you liked all the partying.
But I think the C part of it is maybe learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe not learned, but maybe required.
Well, I've always kind of liked puzzles.
Yeah.
Math is always just kind of interesting for its own sake. But it tells a story. I like the charts because they tell a story.
Yeah.
When I update you guys on market metrics, it's because there's a story there. There's something that you can use. There's,
Trends.
it's stuff that tells you something. It's not just, oh, look at this beautiful chart.
I do like the colors.
I
That's
would
why
really
Matt
like
likes
you to
them.
do that on the next meeting. Just be like, I would like you to look at this beautiful chart.
Yeah, look at this chart.
Whoa. This is being recorded, right?
It leaves me breathless.
goodness.
All right.
What is your biggest fear?
Boy, that changes a lot.
It went south quickly.
Yeah, boy.
You went south.
I think it used to be when I was a kid. It used to be more in a young adult. It was a fear, not a fear of failure, but just a need to be accepted, to want to do something. You're driven by wanting to be a part of things. I think that's always the way it was. I think now it's probably more, as I'm in the transition, that orientation is moving more toward, making sure that my kids are not set up by me, but given
self-sufficient.
Yes, there you go. Yes, they will not succeed if they are not able to fly on their own, and that's always been our philosophy. They have to be able to do it themselves, and I think, knock on wood, I think that we've done okay there. I mean, they seem to be and especially in the last year, they've been taking a ton of responsibility, and I'm very, very pleased about that. So, but so fear, of course, is always those fears of those. I don't like things I can't control, things that I can't create an outcome pretty much on purpose, because if I get focused on an outcome I want, then I know I'm always going to get it. That's just always been a belief. My life has always taught me that. But I think right now, as I look, I'm looking at retirement here in the not too distant future.
Me too.
And so, well, that's what you've been working on. And no, I am. And
so what's the next step for Dave Stark?
See, and that's just what I was going to say. My wife, Marcy, she would say, what are you going to do? You don't know what you, and I admit that I'm not sure that I totally know what that purpose is. And I'm kind of lucky, because for me, my retirement is going to be more of a process than an event. Yeah. It's not going to be, there's going to be milestones along the way, and there's going to be announcements along the way about this or about that, but I'll be around for a while because I have to be. And I'm not just going to say, here, guys.
Is that kind of how your dad did it too when he retired? Or?
Yeah, that's a good question. Kind of, but I don't know if you knew this, but Dad had heart issues when he was just a little bit younger than I am. He had a quadruple bypass, and he tried to come back from it, and after about a year, he just pulled me aside one day and said, I can't do it. He said, I just don't have it anymore, and it's time. I think you know more about this business than I do, and it's time. And so, the best gift he gave me was he backed away, and he said, it's yours, and then he never once looked over my shoulder or second guessed me. He came in for a while.
You almost can't second guess.
You can't. You cannot.
You can maybe advise if you have questions, I think, but the second guessing is a different story.
Yeah. Otherwise, then you undercut their confidence, and you undercut the confidence of the people that they're trying to lead in them. They have to be able to live and die with their decisions, and they have to be accountable. So he was very good about that. That was a great gift that he gave me. He was still the majority owner for a long time, and so I had a little piece, and I'm actually still paying for it. Literally. I am. Yeah. But but no, it's I think that's
So how old were you when that transition happened?
I was 35.
So Chris has got to be...
He's 36.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you're late.
Yep. Yeah, he's behind the curve.
Yeah, I have a weird perspective, because when I started doing receptionist work for Stark was when that transition was happening. So I remember all of the talking around the office, and this is happening, and is he going to be able to do it?
We're going to close the doors. That's just it.
That's totally what it was. And I can see that, when you retire, things that'll happen again.
It's going to be the same thing. It's already happening.
But it was all fine. You know what I mean? It's just people.
People talk.
I think Chris has shown him that he's a pretty sharp guy, though. I think that helps.
He has.
I think that helps a lot.
And you sound exactly alike.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so maybe you should just don't have your video on the screen.
Yeah, don't say it happened, and they will never know.
They'll never know. Well, and as it's been obvious, I'm sure we've been giving them a lot more upfront opportunities to be out front and center.
I think that gradual integration, too, was a big part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was much more sudden with me.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but when the transition happened, it was like Dad was president one day and I was the next. I think people realized that this transition's underway, so that's good. And don't write Allison and Nate off either. They're quieter, but they're doing really, really good things.
It's just a different,
really
different position for both of them that they're going to be developing in their own way.
Yep. And and I don't know if you knew, but Allison had her baby on Friday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So I'm a fifth one.
Oh, congratulations.
Boy, girl?
Girl.
Nice.
Vienna Marie.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I like that name.
Beautiful.
Yeah, she's really cool. We had our corporate meeting today, and Allison was home, and she Skyped in, and there was
she Skyped in.
And there she
you
was.
didn't give her off.
You didn't give her a
she
day
just
off?
had a baby.
Just had a baby.
No, she just did it.
Oh,
she didn't Skype in. She zoomed in or whatever. But there she was, and there's Vienna. It was great. It was awesome. It
So
was
how many
good.
is this? Five
Five.
grandkids?
Five.
Said?
Yep.
Oh.
Tegan, Cal, Connor, Henry, and
Tegan.
Vienna.
I like the Tegan name. That's a
Yeah,
nice name.
Tegan. Yeah, Tegan and Cal are Nathan's. Connor, of course, is Christopher's, and then Henry and Vienna.
How old's Henry now? He's got
Three.
to be 3.
Just
yeah,
turned
I was
3.
gonna say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a. Yeah, we got some good video of him when we brought her home. He was big grin on his face. He thinks it's great. He does now. We'll see how.
Grandbabies are the best.
Yeah.
Well, it's different. I think.
You got some?
2,
Yeah. There
yeah,
you go. How
2
old are they?
4 and 2.5.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
We got a ways to go.
Happily, we have none.
You do.
Let's get
Hopefully.
them to at least be 18.
Yeah. Let them at least get to adulthood.
Yes,
Holy
thank
smokes.
Yes, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All
Who's up?
right. Chris, I think.
Let's.
This is a
see.
good one. Are you gonna pick the next one after me?
All right.
I have my glasses on. Go ahead, Matt. Do it.
When was the last time you were nervous about something besides coming on this podcast?
Oh, well, that wasn't the last time. Sorry, but Marcus has been it. Marcus
So
has been it. You're
close.
getting nervous. You're getting nervous. When was the last time I was nervous about something? Boy, that's a really good question.
Thank you.
You know what I would always get the most nervous, by nervous I mean like apprehensive about an upcoming
Anxious or
event,
something.
is what I assume you mean.
Sure.
You know what I always got the most nervous about and was kind of nervous about this year is when I do the awards banquets for you guys, more so than the all staffs. Because
Why?
because it was really important that you guys liked them to me. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted you to feel appreciated and like they were fun and there was good energy and all that kind of stuff. You know, the all staffs were more, you know, I felt like I had something to say to you. I knew that what I wanted to say and I said it,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't quite as concerned about the I mean, I wanted a good reaction, but I knew it was good.
Right.
But when
You
you're
were
doing,
ready to say charts. Look
Yeah.
at my charts.
yeah, I got charts.
Charts.
Yeah, look at this one. This line. See this slow.
This is a bad Saturday Night Live skit. I'm just saying right now. It's a bad Saturday Night Live skit.
Oh,
There's going to be some gifts coming out of this episode.
I love this chart.
We didn't tell him we actually did clips of this podcast and use it for social.
Oh boy, yeah.
Everything is
I guess you
recorded.
do have to be
Everything
careful,
is
don't you?
recorded.
You do have to be careful. No, I think I get the most nervous for those. And of course, this year, of course, we had to do it all
Yeah,
virtually.
virtual.
Like, how are we going to give it? And actually, I thought it worked pretty
Yeah.
good. I thought it worked
I
pretty
heard you
good.
guys had to practice it once.
We did. We actually rehearsed it a couple times, more for the technical side
Yeah.
and to make sure that everybody knew what was going on, so that people knew when to, and to make sure that all. Yeah, it worked. It
It was
worked.
smooth.
Yeah, it did. It worked really smooth. So yeah, we've actually got some other fun things coming along that haven't quite happened yet. So this is kind of an extended awards season this year. You'll be seeing.
Is that called the tease in the business?
It's a tease. It's a tease.
It's way more fun that way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's kind of, things are rolling out more slowly. COVID has blasted all of our usual.
Yeah.
It takes away a
Routines.
lot of the fun stuff.
It really does. It really does. It's just been so, because we can't get together. We don't have that's what I miss the most is the energy of the rooms.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So next fun question. What was the first thing you bought with your own money?
Oh, it's an easy one.
Car?
10-speed bike.
Oh, 10-speed
Oh.
bike.
Oh!
Some wheels.
So we're going
just
way
only
back.
2.
No, I was 10 years old, or maybe 11, and the Schwinn Varsities had just come out. They were the original 10-speed bikes, and I don't know. I just thought those gears and everything, they just looked so cool. And I thought, man, if I could have one of those, and I was on the swim team at Hill Farm, and I would always, we'd ride our bikes back and forth. I lived on Rock Road at the time. And I don't know, I got to have one. And so I started doing babysitting for my younger brothers, and my parents would pay me, a quarter an hour or something like that. And I saved my money, and when it was all said and done, it was like $75.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
That's a lot
of
at 25
babysitting.
cents an hour.
Yeah.
A lot of babysitting.
Yeah, it took me, better part of a year.
They must
probably
have had
to
a
save
great
up
time
for
with
it.
you babysitting.
They
They've
did.
gone a lot.
Yeah, they left. And I went down, and it felt so good.
So it met your expectations?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
It was probably the best thing I ever bought with my own money.
Nice.
Because it was it was the first thing I purposefully saved for. It was a dream I had. I just wanted it. That experience has served me well in my life, because it was the first time where I set an objective and reached it, and I realized that with perseverance over time I could
Goals.
reach my objectives. Yeah. So yeah, it was a very good lesson
Cool.
all ways around. Yep.
What was your first car?
Jacob, this one's for you.
Oh,
We always go back to the first car episodes.
Oh.
Sorry.
Talk about a lot of first
Sorry.
cars on this show.
I think God, what was it? It was a big old blue bomber of a
Those are
thing.
called hoopties.
Hoopties? What's that? What's a hoopty?
That's
Is
Jen.
that the song, the hoop de hoop?
Yeah, hoopties were. We talked about those a lot in the 90s when I was in high school. Everybody had a hoopty.
Oh. Oh.
There was what you're talking about, big bombers.
I think it was an Impala. I think it was
Oh.
a Chevy Impala.
It's a hoopty.
Yeah, and it was 100 feet long and
100 feet
real-
long.
Big
They
old
were
fins.
yeah, it was. No, but you know what I mean. It was this big blue thing. Yeah, I think that was the first one I ever bought with my own money. Yeah, I used to drive my parents' cars before that.
Right.
But yeah, I think
Who's
so.
next?
You.
I am?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to skip one. I'm going to go to my favorite one.
Okay.
What really makes you angry?
Oh,
This?
yeah, you
That question?
with that question. I don't get angry very often. I think I get most offended when I'm misunderstood or misrepresented, or something that I do is not just taken the wrong way, but is,
That's why this is recorded.
yeah. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's an integrity thing. I try to do the right thing when I can, and all the time. And when you do something and they say, "Oh, you're just doing this or that," and I've heard some of that lately, and that really gets under my skin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get it.
that makes me angry, because if you're not gonna, you may disagree with my decision, but at least give me credit for good intention.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think in this world right now, there's too much of that.
Yeah.
Everybody assumes that there's ill intent in the world, and
Everybody's
there
offended
isn't.
by everything.
Everybody's offended
Mhm.
by everything, and most people are just doing the best they can. But everybody's just worked up and angry, and the pandemic hasn't made it any better, of course. But the quality of discourse and argument these days is really low, in my opinion. Kind of going off your question, but I think bringing it back, I think that if we would all maybe give people credit for trying to do the right thing and trust each other a little bit and try to understand, one of Stephen Covey's 7 habits, I can't recite them all, but one of the ones that really sticks with me is always seek first to understand and then to be understood. Nobody does that.
Right.
Nobody does it. And when they do it to me, it just frosts me. So that's probably my answer.
Well, the rest of these questions are more positive, so.
Okay. Good.
And Beck, what's your favorite family vacation?
Oh, that's for me?
Yep.
Anytime he's with us.
Yeah. My family. Well, I have to say, when we go up north and the whole family goes,
Yeah.
it is a blast. It is really fun. It's always best when the whole family is there. Almost anywhere that the whole family goes is a good place. And if any one of them is missing, it's not the same.
Yeah.
You'll find that with your kids when they grow up.
At this point, I just want him to kick him out.
Yeah. Well, but then they come back.
No. You're right.
And for a while, sometimes when they come back, it's like, oh, geez, for a while. But then as they get to be older, then it's really fun when they come over.
Yes.
Is that the
Bring
grandkids?
Yeah. And the energy just ramps up
Yep.
1,000-fold, and it's just very fun. So you know what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
absolutely. I say to my kids now, I really do care to see you, although
Yeah.
I'm here to see the grandkids, But
Yeah.
yeah, it is when they leave and they come back and they leave and they come back. It's like, seriously, are we doing this again? And
Yeah.
then finally they leave and they don't come back anymore, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like, well, that's a bummer. So now it's fun to be around them.
Yeah. Well, when they're between 18 and 25, there's a lot of failures to launch.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Mine came back with extras.
yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know, that was a fiance before
Yeah.
they got married and a
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
Really? But that's, you
Yeah.
know what? We just roll with it.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. But then when they turn about 25, if I could wave a magic wand, the age of majority would be 25 or 26, because that's when everything really fuses.
Truth.
And there's actually
It's
that's
physiologically
physiologically true.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
that is true. And you can tell when they cross over, because all of a sudden it's like, oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
They're not in puberty anymore.
No,
even though
they're
finally
not.
25
Yeah,
or
when they're
26.
21 or
Mhm.
22, they're just overgrown teenagers.
Yeah.
So
is all they
besides
are.
25 is your favorite age, what was your favorite age when your kids were growing up?
Oh, probably grade 7, 8, 9.
Really?
Sorry, yeah.
You like the middle school?
No, 7, 8, 9 years
Years old.
old.
I was
Oh,
like,
I was gonna
whoa.
say-
No.
I'm like,
no,
what?
No,
Are
no,
you
no.
crazy?
No,
Clearly,
no.
that's not the fun age for anyone.
No,
right?
no,
Yeah.
no. When they're grade school and they're, they just have a lot of natural energy. They don't get in, they don't bug. Yeah, sorry, I kicked that thing a little bit. didn't mean to. Tripod with my foot. They're genuine. They're fun. They like being around you. They more or less do what you're told. You can have real conversations with them. They're getting into fun activities. I just think there's a raw, fun kid energy to that age group that's great. Then they become teenagers and they turn on you and become sullen.
That middle school years.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, especially for girls.
Oh.
It was opposite for us, I think.
Well, you had boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caden, I think the kids, my favorite age was 2. We didn't even have the terrible 2s. We got the terrible 3s.
I would say that's kind of true with Henry. Henry has been he's still very easy, but he's more oppositional now. He just turned 3 than he was even 6 months ago.
And then they start running faster than you and can't catch him.
Yeah, we're not there yet, thankfully. You can run him down with ease.
There you go.
Yep.
Love it. What's the song you play over and over?
Oh, geez. I don't know if I have a song. Oh, man, that's a
You're
hard
welcome. That
one.
was mine too.
I don't know if I have one because I listen to so many.
We talked about your genre before we came on air. What was your genres kind of rock?
Soft rock.
Well, you always like what you grow up with.
Yeah.
And that playlist is chosen not just because I like them. Some of them I like more than others, but a lot of them sort of have messages that I think are relevant to what we're trying to do here as a company. So when I play them at company things, like We Are Family, it's pretty obvious. Don't Stop Believing, it's pretty obvious. You Can Do Magic, it's pretty obvious what the connections are. So, and there's some of those I like a lot. I don't know that I have a favorite go-to that'll...
So if you're sitting at home drinking your red wine, what do you turn on?
Yeah, it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Last night I had on some European jazz that was really good.
Was that the
How
wine,
much
or was
wine
it actually?
was there?
It was just really good. I was by myself. Mars is over taking care of Vienna, so it was really good. Sometimes I put on the classic rock, and I like that. Sometimes it's modern jazz, sometimes it's classic jazz.
Neighbors ever have to call the police
Sometimes
on
it's
you?
classical. I put on classical music in the mornings, on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, I could see that.
Did you ever play an instrument?
Piano.
Piano
And bassoon.
Do you still play piano?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to hopefully, I got away from it in the last 10 or 15 years, but I want to get back to it. That's
Is
one
it
of
part
the
of your
things
retirement?
that might be. It's not like, Larry Kendall was also a piano player, and he and I were talking about this, and he said, it is not like riding a bike. You do lose it if you don't use it. And you have to do it, and to play at a high level, you really got to work it up. So you can need to spend an hour or two a day at it if you really want to enjoy it.
How old were you when you started?
8, I think.
Lessons,
loved
the whole
it.
deal?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I loved it. There was a point at which I could have probably gone places with it, but I didn't take that fork because I didn't really think
You
Could have
wanted to
been
be
the
a
key.
doctor.
Yeah,
You
I
wanted
wanted to be
the
a
bike.
doctor.
You could have been the piano man.
Yeah, I could have been the piano man. Yeah, no, there was a period there where I was pretty good in high school and early after, but it's gone down. I'm not ready for anybody to hear anymore. But I do love music. I love it.
It's funny listening to our youngest Carson. He wanted a keyboard for Christmas. So we got him a keyboard, nothing special or fancy, but he's in there just watching YouTube and learning how to play the piano.
Yeah.
He plays
It's
with
nuts.
2 hands and he
That's
plays
incredible.
Fleur de Lis and all these songs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not really you. He's like, yeah, it is.
Is that right? So you learned it watching YouTube. Does he know how to read music?
No.
So unfair.
He does it by letters, by the letter of the notes. And then he
Awesome.
just.
So is that on the keyboard? So the A, B, C, D, E, F, G
No,
is
he
on?
knows
just
what
knows what
they
it is.
are. But then
Okay.
instead of the music, he does it by letter.
Yeah. Does
If
he
he-
like music? Does he have an
Yeah.
aptitude for it? Yeah.
What did he played some instrument? Was it in grade school? What did he play? It wasn't cello.
Violin. No, he played cello. He played
Cello.
cello and Caden played trumpet.
Yeah.
Oh, I played the
The fact
trumpet.
that you've forgotten. Were you a trumpet player?
I played the trumpet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you
I
good
forgot
at
to-
it?
As good as I wanted to be at the time, but I was more
Yeah.
into the flags. I got to be on the football field with the flags. So,
Yeah.
And
but
the
yeah,
football
I played
players.
the football players. No, not the football players. Look at you.
Aren't you glad you came on?
I am. I'm not treated like a guest anymore. I'm just one of the normal people here to pick on. But no, it was good. It was good. Yeah, but I don't think I could pick a trumpet up. There's definitely
Yeah, you can't
muscles
buzz
that
anymore.
you build in your face to be able to play for sure.
Yeah. Well, I played bassoon too, and which was weird because I did set out to do that. I thought I wanted to play the French horn, but I couldn't buzz. He had me do the thing.
I had to.
Yeah,
Could not
came
get a
out as
buzz.
I mean, it just didn't work.
It's a thing. You have to develop that.
Yeah, and I did not work. And he said, no, that's not going to work. And I had braces at the time.
Oh, no.
So they said, no clarinet, no, and I didn't want to play that anyway. Yeah. So he finally just said, have you ever thought about bassoon? Because nobody plays it. Right. It's like I can fill a slot. And I said, all right, I'll try it. And I actually got to be I probably had a bigger future as a bassoon player than a piano player.
Wow.
Yeah, I was actually pretty good at it. But back in the day. And it was fun, too, when you're playing with an orchestra or you're playing with an actual ensemble playing. If I could play again, this is probably one of your questions, I would either play drums.
It's not, but go ahead.
I would either play, it should have been.
I would have been in the rock band doing that.
I would have either played drums or I would have loved to have been a bass player in a band.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I think being a bass player,
Do you play guitar?
No. I played a little, but
he's retiring. That's his next.
I got one. I got one for
out.
Christmas like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You need to learn that when you're young because your fingers just don't bend like that. Yeah. It's tough.
Well, and it's hard, the calluses.
Yeah.
It's hard
it's tough.
Yeah. And I never got into fingering. I never got that.
Yeah.
There was like 2 or 3 different ways to play the same note. I said, well, this is stupid.
Right?
There should only be one way to play the same note.
It's
How are you supposed to figure that out?
This doesn't make sense at all.
This makes no sense. I have a very logical mind, and the things that have ambiguity don't work for me.
You sure you don't have some C in you?
Maybe a little. Maybe I'm developing it in my old age.
Who's up?
All right. I think that we should probably roll into a little bit of interesting random fact about Madison that you might know.
All right.
So I kind of wanted to, with all the technology in real estate and all the changes we're having, kind of go back to some of the older neighborhoods. Maybe I thought Nakoma was on top of my list because that was part of the Stark family story. So I thought we'd start there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And you did say that we wanted to talk about it. And I'm not a big expert in it, but like you said, I know it was started in like around 1912 or 13 is when they first started to do the lots. And there's some really interesting stuff that I found in it. If you've seen this Madison, History of Madison book. There's some really interesting stuff in here. But it was one of the early things that my grandfather did. He started the Stark Company in 1908. Okay. So actually his father started the company.
Was it called Stark then?
It was called the Stark McLean Land Company.
Land Company.
Was the first thing. And they actually sold lots in the Dakota territories. Because
what happened to McLean?
He had some health issues and dropped out almost within the first year. Sure. And so A.C. Stark, who was actually a Presbyterian minister, I think he just was trying to make some extra money, didn't know what the heck he was doing.
It's a good choice.
Yeah. And so, but his son, Paul, was a teacher, and he either went to or had gone to law school. And so he had some business background, and he asked him to join him within the first year. And he said yes. He was like 23 years old at the time, I believe. And he was the one that really took it over. And within a couple of years, they were assembling the land for Nakoma and developed it. And there's all kinds of stuff like, here's this, the first of the Nakomas, October 30th, 1915. So and if you look at those old pictures, it's all, just open prairies but I thought this was really interesting. I'm going to read this to you because there's there's this promotional thing, and it's not as long as it looks, but it gives you an idea.
Thank you.
Is there a chart?
No, there's no chart, but it's really interesting because it gives you an idea of how different selling is than it used to be. So I got to put my glasses on, see if this will work. All right, so here's what it says. It says, yes, there is a war in Europe. So this is, yes, there is a business depression. Yes, there is a lot of platted land, but that doesn't affect Nakoma. It says Nakoma was placed on sale Monday, July 19th. There were 3 houses then built and 15 lots had been sold. They couldn't wait until it was platted. Today there are 42 lots sold, running from 1 to 4 acres, blah, blah, blah. But then it says Nakoma is the most successful plat in 20 years. I mean, would we ever say this today?
Well, especially if you think of 20 years, what was before that?
Yeah. Wingra Park did not have 14 homes in 3 years. University Heights, they're running down their competition. Had only 5 houses I can't read this with my glasses fogging up, in 4 years. Oakland Heights had only 6 houses in 3 years. West Lawn did not have 14 houses in 2 years. Highland Park did not have 14 houses in 3 years. Neither did they have furnished water, gas, electricity, sidewalk, shade, trees, and transportation. Nakoma furnishes all of them.
It's funny they throw that transportation in there, but
Yeah.
they had to.
Yeah, because you couldn't get there.
That's right.
And then it says, and it will build up 5 times as fast and increase in value 5 times faster than any previous plat. Now, how could you
I
make it?
guarantee that.
How do you guarantee that? An investment in Tacoma at lot at present prices will pay you a big profit.
Wow.
Yeah. Watch out for notice of when the sale at present prices will end. It will be soon.
What if there were speculators that bought lots as just to see if they would increase? Just bought them and then held
Yeah.
them, and
Yeah.
based on
there
that, based on that
probably
pitch.
were some that did.
I'm just wondering if when they wrote that, they heard your voice reading it. That's
Yeah.
kind of what
It was
I'm
in the back of
thinking.
the
That
head
was
somewhere.
Like, I was like, wow, that has got some power.
Is there any
to
lots
it.
left?
Juice. No, it's all built out.
Oh.
Yeah, too late. You missed it.
Darn it.
We're just 100 years and too
Yeah,
late.
you're just 100 years too late. But it was a very successful, and apparently they also had trouble naming the streets. Did you hear this
Yeah.
story? Yeah, I did not know.
They had a contest.
They had a contest.
Yep.
Yeah,
Really?
and then and a lot of the names of the streets are the ones that, and people got a $20 gold piece or something for winning the contest.
That's why some of the streets are so interesting. I
Yeah.
mean, there's different names.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of Native American names.
Well, it's
but-
all Native American. They were kind of doing that, and Tacoma was, it means, it's an Ojibwa word that means I do as I promise, which is, and so they, that was,
It's funny how you think about the developments, because you mentioned earlier the hill farms. My mom grew up in the hill farms too, but back then they were literally just hill farms.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and now, the same thing's developed out that way. So,
Oh man, it's so much fun. Yeah, I used to live on Rock Road, I first started out in Tacoma, as I told you. I was in the corner of Hiawatha and Yuma Drive, and then we moved out to Rock Road. And that was great because that was, I'm a classic baby boomer. I was born in 1954, height of the baby boom. I think it was the peak year of the baby boom. And, it was just empty lots and fields as far as you could see, but there were always houses under construction, and we'd go and we'd have dirt clod fights in the construction sites and run around in there and go through all the fields. And, you had free reign of the place. You could
Right.
ride your bikes wherever you wanted to go. It was awesome.
Did you think about that comment? I think you made it in there too, that they had to have transportation to downtown because that's how they were. Otherwise, nobody's going to buy there.
Yeah, it was way too. Yeah, this was considered way out there. It was like a 15 or 20 minute
By
car
horse.
ride. Yeah, to get out to Tacoma from downtown Madison.
So downtown at that point must have been like what, Greenbush, that area? Or was that even further? Was that out too?
Yeah, there's probably a picture in here that would answer that question for you. But yes, I don't think it went much past West High School
Yeah.
for sure, if that. I think that
There's
would
one
be
of the
about as far
plats
as it
up on
went.
the screen.
Yeah, that's the start.
Yeah, that's the old Tacoma
little pixelated.
plat. Yeah.
What's down in the right-hand corner? Is that the
That's what that gets down to what they wanted Tacoma Golf Club's clubhouse to look like.
Yep.
Yeah, do you know the story of that? The
No.
old story? Yeah, so this is interesting.
It was
So
1921. That's all I know.
initially, what they wanted to do was they had Frank Lloyd Wright design some kind of, it looked kind of like
Yeah.
that. It had like this peak, like teepees sort of a look. And that was going to be the clubhouse. It never got built. I don't know what exactly the reasons were here, but it did actually get built out somewhere. I want to say like in Utah or something
I
like
did
that.
hear that.
Yeah, it was actually built by somebody else somewhere else because they thought it was so cool, but it never got built here.
Wonder why.
I don't know. Well, I think it had to do with actually it's probably have the
Could be
Tacoma
cost.
history book here.
Could be
It
cost
probably
though too. I mean, the cost of stuff.
Yeah.
Not developing as fast and whatever that might be.
yeah.
'Cause
I'll
the-
talk.
The
and
clubhouse came
research
later,
at the same time.
Yeah, the clubhouse was one of the last things
Yes.
to go in.
Yes, that's right.
but then that sort of like accelerated things or made it even more prestigious, is what I read.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, the golf course went in the early 20s, I believe,
Yeah.
and that was also considered to be an amenity. And then, of course, a unique amenity. It was built to compete with Maple Bluff, which had been built, I think, in 1899.
Wow.
I want to say. And so Tacoma came along a little bit after that. Yeah, there it is.
There it is. Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's what it was. They thought it was going to look like, but then it didn't.
Well, the
get built.
trees.
Yep. Yep. And then, of course, you also know that Paul Stark was probably, I've actually researched this in the last couple of years, and he had a lot to do with building the Arboretum. I always thought maybe he was just part of a group, but he was actually, I think it was very much almost his brainchild.
Oh.
And
cool.
he wanted to do it, and he got Michael Olbrich Park, Olbrich Gardens. He got him involved, and the two of them went and assembled the land and then donated it to the university to build it. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he had a lot to do with a lot of different neighborhoods. He developed a lot of the neighborhoods around West High School, A lot of those were also his developments. He's not as well known for those as he is for Nakoma. But yeah, I was never a developer.
Is there a David Street somewhere?
I don't
Or a
think
Pauly Stark
so. I don't think so. There is an Old Brick, just kind of north of Old Brick Garden. There's like a Walter Street and a Richard Street. Yep. I've heard, I don't know if this is 100% true, but I've heard that was a Stark Company and that those were those were after people that worked at the Stark Company at the time. Like Richard was Dick Stark, and
we have a couple years
Walter
before you
was
retire.
Walter Shar.
Oh, wow.
I think there's a Harriet, which I think is Harriet Lansing. Yeah.
So before you retire, can you develop something and name a couple of streets, Matt and Jen?
Yeah.
And Chrissa.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I didn't get one of those.
Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, I'd be glad to do that for you, Matt. As I retire.
Simple task.
Yeah, I'll just go and do a quick
You have a
subdivision.
couple years yet.
Quick subdivision.
Please
for
develop
you.
a subdivision. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe what you need to do is ingratiate yourself with the Viridian guys and see if you can get a house.
I think it should be called Matt and Jen Land.
That's right. Oh, like Wally World, except Jen.
Matt and Jen Land.
Yeah. And that's going to need some work.
It doesn't have a ring to it. We
no,
need more
no ring at all.
charts.
No
We
offense.
need more
but-
charts.
But it's interesting
that's
during the
funny.
development of Nakoma. Also, we talked about this earlier about the Spanish flu hit.
Yes.
So even the time where they indicated in somewhere in the history that the decline or it didn't take off as fast, that could have been part of it too.
I think that almost certainly was a part of it. Yeah, the Spanish flu has really kind of disappeared into people's memories. It's come back a little bit now with COVID, but yeah, that was a much bigger deal than what COVID has been. That was huge. It was, you and I were talking about it. The numbers. I just read today that I was telling Matt that I think the Spanish flu killed like 600,000 people in this country, which is like equivalent of 2 million in today's population.
Wow.
So that just gives you an idea. And it was like 50 or 60 million around the world. And a lot of them were younger as opposed to here where it's older. You can argue
I
whether
think
that's a
part of it too is they had a lot of these guys going off to war. And
They brought it back.
kind of spread back that and went that way and then came back to the U.S.
That's right. That's exactly right. I think that was the biggest thing that not only was the war not particularly popular, but it brought back a pandemic that
makes it more
made it even worse.
popular.
Yeah, but I'm sure you're right that figured into it. And then, of course, you had...
And then the Great Depression hit.
Yeah, then the Great Depression hit. Yeah, and the company
Great
went...
timing.
Yeah.
They're a little spread apart.
Yeah, the 20s were good. Yeah, the 20s were good.
15 years.
The 20s were good, and the company did well during the 20s, but then in the 30s, it got hit hard. Yeah, and I think that we found some documents that indicated that Paul Stark was near bankruptcy for a while there during that period. So that we've made it this far is pretty amazing.
It's also interesting, the timeline. I mean, even like we were talking about the 1920-ish start of it really taking off, and then the war, pandemic.
Yeah.
And it continued through the Great Depression until it all sold out.
Yep.
But it's kind of like today. I mean, even have the same thing now where we still have, things are still selling.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a great year last year.
Yep.
I think it's interesting to see how we still persevere through pandemics.
I agree. Well, you could arguably say that our industry benefited from the pandemic for a lot of reasons. That are, in hindsight, pretty obvious. It didn't look that way to be in March and April. I remember you and I talking, and we were both kind of going, "Whoa!"
Yes,
You felt like you were on that power dive down on the roller coaster. But then by June, I was feeling a lot more confident.
Yeah,
We kind of started to
absolutely.
get back to more normal thinking, and then of course it just kept going from there. But yeah, the thing about real estate that people always miss, and I don't know if this is where you're going with your question, is or they just don't pay enough attention to is how fundamental it is. And the reason I bring that up, I may have told you this story before, but during the during the recession of 07 through 11 is really when it was for real estate. It was really 7 through 11. It lasted longer than the official recession. And I knew the publisher of the State Journal pretty well at that time, and we would go to lunch a couple times a year, and we were at lunch one day. And he looks at me and we're talking about it. He says, Dave, do you think people are ever going to be comfortable owning real estate again?
Huh?
wow.
And I just said, I was polite, but in my head, I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that was sort of how people's minds go to where whatever's happening right now, they think is going to happen forever off into the future. So when times are good, it's always going to be good and they get reckless. And when times are bad, it's never going to be any good again. And I'm never going to do this again. And it never works like that. Things always go to equilibrium. Things always snap back. We're arguably not arguably, we are still in a distorted real estate market now. This market is not normal. I mean,
You wonder how long it's going to be till it gets back to quote unquote normal.
It's going to be a few years, I think. It's probably going to take some, I don't want to say pain. Let's just say it's going to slow down from where we are so that prices kind of level and inventories can build back up. But I think it's going to be a more gradual process than what we saw.
I think it's going to take interest rates to go up?
A little bit, and they're doing that a
help.
little bit right now.
That might help at least.
Yeah, interest rates going
back.
up might trigger it. That might be the first thing. Probably the most, I think that's probably the most obvious thing that will trigger it. Have you guys, not asking you to divulge your business secrets, but would you guys, I'm just curious because we're basically 2 months into the year, would you say the listings are coming in faster or slower than they were a year ago?
Last week, I'd say the last week faster.
But up till then?
Yeah, up until, this week actually, was it last week this week there's a bunch coming on.
Mm-hmm.
Were they, but before that, were they? Because when
they
I've
kind
seen,
of trickled in. We had a couple weeks where we had a good couple weeks and they'd sell right away.
Yeah, well, yes, they're all selling right away.
And then we'd have a little bit of a pause.
Yeah.
And we'd have more coming on and then they'd sell.
Yeah. Because what we've tracked, at least so far, is that the market in January was down a good 25% in terms of the number of listings that came on the market. And that surprised me because I thought, and so far February doesn't look like it's going to match last year either.
What's your guess as to why? What do you think that's causing that?
I think it's some of it. I think is still COVID. Honestly,
Okay.
I think there are still a lot of, maybe you guys would maybe know better than I do. You're talking to sellers that are saying that they're still a little nervous about putting their house on the market.
I don't think it's necessarily, well, Chris would know too, but I don't think it's necessarily COVID versus having somewhere to go.
That's what I
It's
meant.
That is
somewhere
a
to
very
go.
big
That
one.
is my-
Yes,
that's what I
there's no
meant.
question that's a big one. That's a big one. And there's not, the best, we, as you know, we try to brainstorm answers. And the best one that I've heard so far and that I'm starting to see more of is, putting 60 night or whatever you can put in just to rent back post-occupancy to give the seller time to find something.
When you think about it too, the seller is in control, especially now because they can dictate terms.
Right.
So even if you I don't have anywhere to go, well, you push out a closing or you say, we can't close until I find somewhere to go or to buy or to close. So
Double move and make a lot of money.
Exactly. No, I think that's right. I think I think real estate's arguably getting a little frothy in price. Some people have worried that it's, are we heading for another 2007, 8, 9? And I absolutely not, because the
appraisers are doing their job.
Yes, the appraisers are doing their job and the banks are doing their job, which
we learned the first time.
Yeah, they were not doing their job 15 years ago, and
Right.
that's what got us into trouble. We had people in houses they could not afford, and as soon as they couldn't sell it, they went bankrupt and defaulted. And the worst case scenario, people that might want to sell won't because they, but they can afford the house they're in, and that's by and large. So you're not going to see wholesale defaults.
The 3 worst words back then: fast and easy.
Oh, it was
No income, no asset verification.
it was just terrible.
80-20.
80-20, 80% mortgage first, 20% second.
It was
Go up to 15%.
it was just
Buy
so
furniture.
people would take cash out.
Yes, absolutely.
They would put nothing down and leave with extra money.
That's what about the furniture.
It was just ridiculous. So yeah, all the economic rules were thrown out the window.
You remember where we were when that hit?
We were in Hilton Head.
We were in Hilton Island. Best vacation
Best
ever.
vacation. We're like, nobody's calling
called.
us. This
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
a while it was.
Yeah, then we got home and I was like, oh.
But it's
Yeah.
amazing how fast it happened. It wasn't like a gradual, it was just overnight and shut off.
Yep. Things went south in a hurry, and it was just, that was a power dive.
Yes, yes.
And people were afraid to own. It was, all the circumstances. Some people, because the only thing that I had been through before that was anything like it was which would be before your guys' time, which is the 80, 81, 82 recession. And I was still selling at that time, and then I started managing.
The
And
interest rates at that time were through the roof.
Crazy
Too.
through the
high.
roof.
I remember farm loans
Yeah.
coming due and taking over the farms. And the whole deal.
everything was selling. We were selling everything on land contract
Right.
because the interest rates were so high that the banks wouldn't, they just literally would not lend on a property unless they had the underlying mortgage. There was no money available. But the difference is that everybody wanted to buy. It wasn't that people didn't, it wasn't that they didn't want to. It was just too expensive, and so they had to connive and figure out ways to get it done. 15 years ago, people didn't want to buy. They were scared to death. It was like pushing a boulder uphill with a string. You know, the values were there, the prices were there. You could make all the rational arguments you want. Say this is going to be a great buy. You buy it now, you're going to love it, which was true, 100% true. Turned out that way and then some. But people didn't want to listen to it until they kind of got some confidence. And then
I think that shows
13.
also that, I mean, our industry pivots well.
It does.
Like no matter,
always
like
has.
We pivoted from single family. We did a lot of foreclosures, short sales, REO stuff, and it's just
You just have to learn new things and figure out where
how to do it.
I agree. I totally agree. We're a very resilient industry. We always have been, and I think we always will be. I think that's where entrepreneurialism and self-reliance and individual energy and initiative are just all great things, and they force you to be resilient.
It doesn't hurt being in Dane County either.
No,
it helps a lot.
Dane County is a great place to be. I mean, even in the recession, I've always felt that we suffered more than we needed to in Dane County because our prices never fell like they did in other parts of the country, but everybody believed they did, and because they believed they did, they would. Yeah, the news was. In fact, I had another lunch with that same publisher because they published a story, and it finally just said, I can't take it anymore, because it was all the national news, and what it said was, housing prices have fallen 10% this year and are projected for another 10%, they're down 30% or whatever it was. And it was just this blanket stuff from the Case-Shiller Index and all this. And I just finally said, look, I said, that's not happening here. And I put the numbers down in front of him. He said, oh.
Charts?
Yeah.
Charts!
I gave him some charts. I gave him facts.
It's funny how those facts work.
Yeah. And he said, you know what? You're right. He said, we got to do better than this. And from then on, they at least, when they would publish a story, they would, at least in sort of paragraph saying, in Dane County, it's not this
Dave
way.
Stark says this is not true.
Yeah. No, I was...
But they always put that paragraph way at the bottom.
Yeah,
The last
sometimes
paragraph
they
of the
wouldn't.
article.
It wasn't. But we, our prices, top to bottom, I think our prices dropped less than 10%. And but yet you talk to people, they say, "Oh, what are prices down like 30%, 40%?" My house has got to be underwater. I'll bet it's. The woman that was cutting my hair. She had a house that she bought for $250. She says, "I probably couldn't get $200 for it." And I said, "Why do you think that?" Well, prices are down. And I said, no, they're not.
The thing is, even during that time, the people that didn't have to sell just didn't sell.
Yeah, right. They just didn't
It's
sell.
not like they didn't lose any money unless they had to sell.
That's true with any asset, as
Right.
long as you can hold on to it. What made it hard was all the people that couldn't hold on
Right.
to it because they were
80-20s
over-leveraged.
and fast and easy. And
Yeah, that's why that was so bad. And that's what won't happen again.
Right.
We've been
Right.
through plenty of recessions where prices have leveled off for a while, maybe even fallen a little bit for a year or two, but generally not. Real estate will almost always increase at or slightly above the rate of inflation. It just always will, especially in a growing economy, because your economy tends to grow faster than the supply. We're really seeing that now. That's why prices are being put up. This total 180 from where we were 15 years ago. But back to my original point, I do think we're a little out of balance. Are we overpriced in Madison? I don't think so. I mean, obviously people can afford it, but we need more supply. And when we do get more supply, I think prices will level off and might even, not rise very quickly for a few years. And that would be okay. Let people catch up. I think that's how it'll probably play
Sell
out.
now.
Yeah, cash in now.
Be okay with moving twice.
Yeah,
yeah,
really.
absolutely.
Well, I think it'll still be worth more 10 years from now than it is today. It just I just think it will be, but it's not going to be this linear up like it was. It can do this on the way, like all assets.
It should be interesting in the next couple of years how this market shakes out.
Ooh, well, we need inventory. That's why I asked you the question about where the listings are coming in, because so far this year they have not been coming in as fast as they did a year ago. But I've also noticed that inventories tend to pick up on March 1st. It's kind of where they turn the corner.
But the total sales haven't been bad.
No, they haven't been bad.
The comparable to anything else, I think it's still.
Well, and that's the point. We're kind of operating with just-in-time inventory now.
Yep, absolutely.
We're listing them and selling them. They're just not accumulating. But we listed as many houses last year as we did in 2019 over the course of the whole year. But you'd have never thought that.
Yeah, right, with the pandemic.
In the middle of April and May, when you saw it just plummet, you just thought, we'll never catch up. But we did. We actually, by the end of the year, we actually caught up, and that's why we had a record year. There were enough houses to sell.
Our record year was right after they started coming back out of that. So it would have been the May, June, July.
Yeah.
It almost flipped. Spring to
It did. I would
market,
say
December
that
market.
the the 4 or 5 last months of the year for the company were probably the 4 or 5 best months for those times of year that we've ever had.
Right.
By far, they were just off the charts. But obviously we're still just digging out of the hole. So ended up a little bit ahead.
So list your house now.
Yeah. Everybody list your house now. We need your listings.
Everybody,
please sell.
Everybody list your house now.
Sell your house now.
We have charts.
We have buyers.
We have buyers. We have charts that will show you that it's a good idea.
It's interesting though that the rents still go up too. Mm-hmm. So it's not just the sales, it's the rents and everything are.
At today's interest rates, I think you can probably get as much or more living for owning as you can from renting. Right. I think in a lot of cases, renting is not cheap now.
No,
it is not.
We keep raising our tenants, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it
well,
is.
costs go up, taxes go up.
Everything goes up.
Everything
it's like, I know there's a pandemic, but yes, I do have to raise your rent. I'm sorry, but costs go up.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've been lucky here in Madison too. I mean, I'm sure we've had some forbearance. And have you had much trouble with that? Have you had, no, we haven't either in our apartments. Everybody's been able to, Madison's in pretty good shape that way. But there are people that are hurting, and obviously we have to be sensitive to that. We have to, I think that those things that government is targeting to those people are well thought out. Some of them.
Yeah, we definitely had some folks that had to use some like sunshine funds and stuff like that.
Yes.
We had a couple where they were both Uber drivers, and
Sure.
for a while there was nothing they could do, and now
Yeah.
they're busy because they're delivering food like crazy.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah, I think the economy is going to snap back pretty quickly, and I'm no epidemiologist, but I feel like we're getting closer to the end of this thing than maybe people realize. I hope so anyway.
And all these industries have changed too. The restaurant business has gone, like Jen just mentioned, Uber Eats and all these Eat Street and all these companies that deliver food. And
people are resilient. I mean, look at how we were able to just continue to meet virtually. I mean, we're not unique in that, of course, but we all did it. The first couple times we were like, what the hell are we doing? We had no idea how to do it. But, within 2 or 3, we had it down pretty good. And we got better as the year went on.
my birthday is April 27th, so it was kind of during the pandemic thing. And I remember posting something that said, how could we couldn't have pivoted like this 10 years ago. We couldn't have just flipped a switch and done Zoom meetings and training.
That is very true.
Truth.
So
yes.
having this technology has really made a big difference.
It would be interesting to know what our industry, how we would have adapted. Were you going to say something?
fax meetings.
Yeah. No, I think I said it on the last podcast, the fact that this happened has created for a generation of people that would never have been involved with technology, an opportunity to be able to see their families and their grandkids. And I think you said Raj has Zooms with his buddies, and
His high school buddies, he Zooms with them.
Yeah.
So the wonderful things that have come out of it's been a lot of not good things.
Yeah.
I mean, just there's that. But I always tend to let's find what's happened that's good.
Absolutely.
And I think that is
Look what we're doing here. We probably wouldn't
right.
have done this if we didn't have
Right?
the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I just think that is the wonderful things that have happened and are going to happen, and the way that business has changed and the opportunities people have taken advantage of. It's all good.
Do you guys think that people are going to come back to the offices like they were?
That's a great question. I think we're still going to have the mix of people because I hope they do, because I think it's my personal opinion is I think people are more productive and focused sometimes at the office.
I totally agree.
But I think getting them here might be a little bit harder.
For our newer folks, it's nice to have them in the office so we can train and they can hear what
it's
other
questions
people are
too. I mean, when
saying,
you're sitting at home and
doing,
they're trying to call us while we're in training somebody else, a little bit harder. So if you're here, then at least a lot easier to do the
pop your
training.
head in, ask a quick question.
Training is just not the same when you're virtual. I don't care how you do it. And I find that when I go to the office, there's all kinds of impromptu conversations that we have that you just don't have when if you're sitting at home. If you want to talk to somebody, you got to pick up the phone and call them, or you got to email them, or you got to text them, or you got to specifically try to find them. Whereas when you're at the office, you just bump into each other and things happen. You stick your head in,
or even like Jane, who you met upstairs, is working on getting her license. She's around, Carissa and Catherine and the whole group on that row. She can listen to everything that's going on. She's questions, the questions she can hear all the other agents are asking us or asking each other. I think that makes a big difference.
Oh, I think it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
And it does. We had one of the other gals up there. She was on her first winter shift, and the phone rings, and they're talking, and she comes running down to me. What do I do? I'm like, it's okay. All good.
That was you a couple months ago.
You are not wrong.
Yeah.
So, but it's fun to be able to,
Yeah.
to just watch the growth of everyone, and we all do learn from each other.
Yep, absolutely.
It's fantastic to be in the office.
No, I believe that we will all come back to the office most of the time. Maybe not 100% of the time that we did, but I think 70 or 80% of the time.
I think it was a kind of a different mix like that prior to pandemic too. You had a
It
mix
was.
of people that.
Yeah,
So I think the people that are going to be in the office are probably the same people that would have come in the office anyway.
yeah.
I think that the people that are sick are now going to stay home.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking they need to come to the office. And I think that's probably one of the best things that ever came
Yeah,
out
that's
of this.
true. Yeah.
Like my sister works at a company that if she's sick, she gets points against her. If she
Ugh.
doesn't go to the doctor, she could lose her job for not coming to work. And look at what it created.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think it's, again, I look at what's fixed. I think that's
Yeah.
been fixed because of this. Like, if you have a cold, stay home. You don't have to come to the office, whether it's real estate or whatever it is, but because you can work from home and not expose everybody to your germs now.
And you can be on Zoom.
Zoom is good.
Yeah, no, that's right. You can do all that stuff. I just think people like being together. It's been interesting to watch the employees that we have. We've got about 27, 28 employees, and there's only a couple that have really not wanted to come in, and a lot of them where when they've had to go home, they get angry. They don't want to not come in. They would rather come in. When during the November, December period, when it's the slowest time of year generally, and that was sort of when everything was sort of peaking. And so we kind of said, okay, we'll go back to, if you want to work from home, you can. And a few of them took us up on it a little bit, but very few, I can't think of any that just went home and stayed there.
I think there again, it's just hard for some people to work from home and
Yeah.
they feel they just get more done. And
Well, if you've got kids at home too who are also schooling at home, it's got to be, work has to be a break.
Yes, that's right.
Work is like a vacation rather than being home trying to teach kids.
That's
I
right.
try to educate the kids at home too. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's going to change retail and the shopping
Yes.
experience more than it will change the office experience.
What Amazon stock has done since
Oh.
pandemic?
Yeah.
It hasn't done as great as you'd think.
Really? You'd think it'd just skyrocket.
well, here's what I have loved to hear and what I have seen. The mom and pop shops have
Yes.
figured it out
Yes.
so that they can compete a little bit
A little
with the
bit, yeah.
Amazons
Just
of the world.
Just survive for,
Yeah,
just make
and
it
they
through the
had to.
pandemic.
They
Yeah.
had to. So I think it's again, the ingenuity that has come out of this is so cool.
Yep.
And they'll be able to stay at that point or do those kinds of things moving forward as well as have other people in their store. So
Yeah.
it's just cool.
I agree. Totally agree. Yeah, and I can't wait to go back to restaurants again.
I live in Sauk County.
Yeah. Yeah.
We go to
You
restaurants.
go to restaurants?
We go to
Yeah.
restaurants.
People go up there and they play their sports and all that
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You have
yeah.
to flee Dane County to be able to do it. Yeah. No, I can't wait to go to restaurants, and I cannot wait to go to a sporting event again
Yeah.
and have a
Badger
full
games,
crowd. I
tailgating.
want to. Oh man,
Is that going
football
to?
game.
That might be something to be interesting. The next tailgating and Badger games and State Street and
Oh, it's gonna be so good. I just cannot
Packer
wait.
games.
Yeah, it's so good, so good. Anyway,
Yeah, it was good.
All right. Well, very good. Well, we appreciate you joining
Yeah, thanks,
us
Dave.
today.
my pleasure. Hopefully, you got something usable
was
out
great.
of it.
Yeah. No. Tons of information.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Have me again. Can I
Absolutely.
beg my way out here? No, it's fun. I like it.
Yeah.
It's fun to do. You guys do a nice job. I'm
Jacob
impressed
does
with
a
your
great job.
setup.
Yeah.
No, really, you guys got good gear
Technical
here.
wizard.
Yeah.
Just don't get them started on Bitcoin, then everything's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we-
we're gonna do another episode about Bitcoin.
we covered
We'll have Dave
Bitcoin.
on for the next Bitcoin.
We covered Bitcoin.
I was recording that conversation.
Everything's recorded.
Yeah.
As I learned
Yeah.
on Instagram
Yeah.
singing.
Yeah.
It
singing.
might not make the cut though, because it was
Yeah.
before we officially started.
Yeah,
so.
Carissa's
Yeah.
really good at singing, so she
What
was
were you singing?
singing.
Whitney
Houston?
Houston?
Probably Whitney.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't all that good. I
Still.
didn't know I was being recorded, so I would have stepped it up a notch.
So
Still.
you,
I
did,
even
you didn't
asked.
see our Instagram? No.
I confess to not being a
I was
social
like,
media.
you really
person.
record? I'm on Instagram singing.
He's like, he's like, I posted it right away. You're on there now.
You did. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Alrighty
Yeah.
then.
No, this is good to see too, because when we remodel the offices, we're wanting to build video rooms into each of them
Yeah,
so that the
absolutely.
agents can do it, because it's just become a thing. So
As it should be.
as it should
Yeah.
be. So we're gonna.
So we're going to budget to build insulation so we're not so cold. And
Just bring the space here.
space heaters.
Yeah, I must have come on the right day. I think
It's actually
very
nice down here.
comfortable.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
have been times it's chilly.
It can be hot under the lights, you know.
Get all the pressure.
Yeah.
It's really high pressure here.
Yeah. Very intimidating.
All
Right.
right.
Thank
Well,
you.
Yeah, thanks again for joining us, and thanks for tuning in.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Appreciate you for tuning into another episode of It's Gonna Be Great. Make sure you give us a follow on Spotify, 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on your podcast platform of choice. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Thousands of hundreds.